Hello everyone, welcome back to Take the Snap. I'm JJ, and in this episode I'll be sharing with you my round 1 NFL mock draft, and I'll be discussing the Nico Iamaleava situation and sharing my thoughts on it. But first, let's talk about the news. The Eagles and center Cam Jurgens have agreed on a 4-year, $68 million contract extension. I think this is a good move. They lost a lot of pieces in the free agency, the Eagles. They lost a lot of secondary pieces, but he was a very good replacement for Jason Kelce that retired, and I think he will fit in there well. He was really good last year. I felt like he was just a good part of the offensive line. He felt comfortable, and I think this is a good move for the Eagles, so they have their center moving on. The New York Jets plan to exercise the 5th-year options for wide receiver Garrett Wilson, outside linebacker Jermaine Johnson II, and cornerback Sauce Gardner. I think this is a good decision. I mean, why wouldn't you? Garrett Wilson won Offensive Rookie of the Year, has been a top 20 receiver in the league since then. He's been really solid for them. Jermaine Johnson, he's a guy he's been actually really solid for them. He has been the most underrated out of the three, of course, and Garrett Wilson having all the hype, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Sauce Gardner winning Defensive Rookie of the Year and being really flashy. But he's been really good. He's been really stable for them. I think he's a leader in that linebacker room and in just the linebacker core, and I think Jermaine Johnson has been really good for them, so I'm happy to hear about that. And Sauce Gardner, I mean, he's been a top 5 quarterback in the league. Of course, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's been really good. Hasn't had as many interceptions as we'd like to see, but he's been one of the best corners in the league when healthy. He's been able to shut down opposing teams' wide receiver ones, and all 3 of these guys have been really good, and I think this is a good decision for the Jets to exercise these people's 5th-year options. That's it for the news. It's time to unveil my 2025 round 1 NFL mock draft. How this is going to work is I'll just go through who I think every team will pick for each round. I do have a couple mock trades in here. I'll talk about the details of those, and I'll just give my reasoning why, and also maybe share a couple other players that the teams could draft if they don't do what I think they will. Let's get into it. With the number 1 overall pick, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami. The Titans need to get the quarterback of the future, and I think if this pick is anything but Wood, the fans will be not happy at all. This is the expected pick. I think he is the best quarterback in this draft class. I think this is what they should do, and I think this is what they will do come draft day. Number 2 overall pick, I have the Cleveland Browns trading the pick away to the New York Giants. I have the Giants giving up the number 3 overall pick, along with their 3rd round pick and pick 134 in the 4th round. I think they'll give that to the Giants to move up 1 selection and draft Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. The Giants move up to secure their quarterback of the future. I think he'll compete with Russell Wilson in camp for the starting job. Even if they do have him sit, Russell Wilson can just mentor him. And I don't buy that he's going to fall. There have been reports coming out that he can go late 1st round, maybe even fall out of the 1st round completely. But I think it's just a smokescreen. He's really good. The Giants need a quarterback outside of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. They can do whatever they want, have a battle. But I do think that the Giants will trade up to get the quarterback of the future with Shedeur Sanders. With the number 3 overall pick, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Abdul Carter, edge rusher, Penn State. The Browns, they trade away the pick, basically passing on a quarterback, and they get the best pure prospect in Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter has the potential to be a generational prospect. They need another pass rusher to play on the other side of Myles Garrett, and that's what Abdul Carter would do. The Browns just try to get the best player available. They can figure the quarterback situation out later in the draft, get a guy in the 2nd, 3rd round. But here they just get the best player in the draft in Abdul Carter and hope he just can develop him and hope that he can be as good as Myles Garrett on the other side. The number 4 overall pick, I have the New England Patriots selecting Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU. I think that this could be Will Campbell, or I think this might be Travis Hunter, but I think the Patriots see that they have a big need at tackle and just on the offensive line in general. And I think as good as Hunter is, they just need to get some help to protect Drake May. I think they do it here in Campbell. His arms are a little short. I know people have been saying this for weeks, but I don't think arm size really matters, and I think that the Patriots just look to get the best offensive lineman in the draft. With this pick, the offensive line gave them the 4th most sacks in 2024, so they look to get some help here, and I think they do that. With the number 5 overall pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Travis Hunter, quarterback / wide receiver, Colorado. I think that the Jaguars are really happy in this scenario. They get possibly the best player in the draft, generational prospect, who can play both quarterback and wide receiver. I think they have a need at both those positions, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that they'll use them. They'll put him out wide receiver mainly, and they'll start him there. But then they'll use him as like a quarterback 3 or 4. So in like dime sets, and like when they need more than 2 DBs on the field to put him in. So I think he'll be a depth cornerback and a receiver, but I think he'll play both positions, and I think he'll play them well, and I think that the Jaguars go out and get one of the best prospects in the draft in Travis Hunter. With the number 6 overall pick, I have the Las Vegas Raiders taking Mason Graham, defensive tackle, Michigan. They just go best player available. I think that a lot of people want this to be Ashton Jeanty. I think it makes sense at first, considering that the only running back they have on the roster is Raheem Mostert. But I think that the Raiders just need help on the defensive line, somebody to line up with Max Crosby, and I think that they can get a running back later in the draft. It's a very deep running back draft class, and I just think they know taking a running back with the 6th pick probably isn't the best thing to do, regardless if they have the skill set that Jeanty has. So I think the Raiders do the smart thing to take Mason Graham here, and they let Jeanty fall somewhere else. The number 7 overall pick, I have the New York Jets selecting Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle, Texas. The Jets, they need more offensive line help. The offensive line was horrible last year, and with Justin Fields, he's a scrambler that can't have him running for his life because I don't think he can throw the ball efficiently. So they just try to get the best offensive lineman available, and they get that in Kelvin Banks. With the number 8 overall pick, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting Michael Williams, edge rusher, Georgia. I think the Panthers, they would like to get another weapon for Bryce Young, but they can do that later in the draft. But they need to address their pass rush. It has the lowest QB percentage from per next gen stats. They were not very good last year on the defensive side of the ball. And Bryce Young, he looked good at the end of the year. So I don't think they need to worry about quarterback. I just think later in the draft they can get him like wide receiver or maybe even a tight end. I think they'll be good. But right now they addressed their pass rush that was the worst in the league last year, and Michael Williams. With the number 10 overall pick, I have the Chicago Bears selecting Armand Bimbo, offensive tackle / guard, Missouri. They draft Mimbo to help improve the offensive line, which gave it the most sacks in 2024 with 68 of them. They have worked in free agency to improve the offensive line. They signed guards Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney. They signed center Drew Dolman. So yeah, the Bears have made steps to improve the offensive line. But I think that they do draft Armand Bimbo, put him at tackle, and just revamp the defensive line. It will take them a little bit to get comfortable playing next to each other. But I think that the Bears make this smart move, protects Caleb Williams, the franchise quarterback, and they get help in the trenches that they need badly. The number 11 overall pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Will Johnson, quarterback, Michigan. The 49ers, they lost a lot of defensive players during free agency, especially in the secondary. They lost Talanoa Hufanga, this standout safety. They lost cornerbacks Isaac Yiadom and Travarius Ward, who was one of their best players on that defense. And if they draft Will Johnson to kind of help fix that gap, they signed a couple of depth cornerbacks. But Will Johnson, he has the potential to be, I think, one of the best players in this draft, just from a pure talent wise. I think he's really good. I think he could be the steal of the draft at 11. They try to get younger on defense because defensively they were very injured and that hurt them, and they need to get players on rookie contracts. They still have to pay Brock Purdy, so I think that this helps them get younger and just improve their defense. Number 12 overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Ashton Jeanty, running back, Boise State. The fall finally stopped for Jeanty. Has the potential to be one of the best players in the draft. The Cowboys take a running back at 12. It would be big. It would be flashy headlines. Cowboys draft Jeanty. Jerry Jones loves his headlines, so I do think they will do this. I mean, the only running backs that can really do anything are Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. Gross. So they definitely need Jeanty. He fits a need. I mean, Rico Dowdle was good last year, so I think that they do go and they sign Ashton Jeanty, and I think that he will be one of the best players from this draft looking back. Number 13 overall pick, the Miami Dolphins select Tyler Booker, inside offensive lineman, Alabama. Keeping Tua healthy is the most important thing for the Dolphins. With his history of concussions and health problems, they need to keep him healthy. In order to contend, they need to build up the trenches, and I think that they do that here with Tyler Booker. They get the best offensive linemen available, and I think that the Dolphins just help prove those trenches. With the 14th overall pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. The Colts have no good tight ends. Like, they have Mo Alley-Cox, Kylan Granson, Jelani Woods all in there, and none of those people are viable starters, so they go out and get Tyler Warren, who's a beast at tight end, very well-rounded, and they've needed tight end for a couple of years, and now they finally go out and address it with the best tight end in the class. The number 15 overall pick, I have the Atlanta Falcons selecting Jalen Walker, edge rusher, Georgia. The Falcons, they've needed a pass rusher for a long time. And Walker's versatility is kind of what pushed him over the edge to finally draft him. He can play as an edge rusher. He can play a linebacker. He can play really anywhere in that front seven when you need him to. He's very versatile. I think that the Falcons finally address a big need that they've had for years in edge rusher and get a superstar in the position. Number 16 pick, I have a projected trade. I have the Denver Broncos trading away the 3rd, 1st, and 4th round selections to the Arizona Cardinals for their 1st and 5th round selections. And after moving up 4 spots, I have the Denver Broncos selecting Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan. They need a tight end. I know they signed Evan Ingram, who I think is actually pretty solid, but Sean Payton loves his tight ends. We saw that back in New Orleans, so I think that he gets himself 2 good tight ends, and they jump the Bengals, who might take a tight end because they definitely need one, and they get a pass-catching demon and Colston Loveland at Michigan. He can get open from any place in the field. He reminds me of George Kittle, just the way he can catch the ball. He also can block, but he's mainly a pass-catcher tight end, and the Broncos get a great weapon for Bo Nix and a great addition to the offense. With the number 17 pick, I have the Cincinnati Bengals taking Jahad Barron, cornerback, Texas. The Bengals have to draft defense. They need defensive help, and I think they go in the secondary. Jahad Barron, I think he's just probably the best defensive player available. They don't have anybody in the secondary, so the defense is too easy to probably miss the playoffs. So they know that they need help in the back end, and they draft accordingly. The number 18 pick, I have a projected trade. I have the Indianapolis Colts trading away their 2nd and 3rd round picks this year, and their 2026 2nd round pick to the Seahawks for the 1st round pick and 3rd round picks. I think Seattle, they could stay here and draft offensive linemen, but I think in the later rounds, and they'll use the picks they got from the Colts to trade off to draft offensive linemen. And meanwhile, with the pick, I have the Indianapolis Colts selecting Malachi Starks, safety, Georgia. They need help in the secondary. The Colts, their secondary is rough. I know that they got Treverius Ward in free agency, but they still need to improve. And I think that they do it. He'll play well with Julian Blackman is back there, but the Colts just improve their defense and improve their secondary and get much needed help in the back end. With the number 19 overall pick, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting Mike Green, edge rusher, Marshall. He led the FBS in sacks, and the Buccaneers look to help the defense that has been aging and getting older, and Mike Green is just a dominant pass rusher, and he'll fit well into the Buccaneers scheme and Todd Bowles' scheme where it needs a good pass rusher, and I think he just helps this defense get younger, and I think that's what the Buccaneers do with the 19th pick. 20th overall pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting James Pierce Jr., edge rusher from Tennessee. The Cardinals, they just look to go best player available, and the pick at this point, I think that the Cardinals just see the upside that James Pierce has. I think he can be a really explosive and dominant player. I think coming off the edge, the Cardinals just need the defensive help. The 21st overall pick, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Jackson Dart, quarterback, Ole Miss. Their general manager, Omar Khan, has said he wants to add 2 more quarterbacks to the roster before training camp, and I think they will sign Aaron Rodgers, but I think that they also will draft Jackson Dart with their first round pick. The Steelers, they need to look towards the future. I don't think, even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, he's not the future. I don't think Skylar Thompson or Mason Rudolph is your future. And Jackson Dart's upside is undeniable. In college, his scheme wasn't the best for NFL. He didn't have to do much, but I do think that he has the potential to be like a Brock Purdy, but more playmaking ability. But I do like Jackson Dart. I think his teammates in the locker room like him, and I do think that the Steelers take Dart with the 21st pick. I think that they will look at other choices. I think Luther Burden is a good option, maybe even Mecca Buka. They need wide receiver help, but I think they would love to add another piece to their defensive line, specifically for like a second defensive tackle. But I do think they'll look at all the options, and the original pick will be Jackson Dart for the first round pick. The 22nd overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. The Chargers need wide receivers. They lost Josh Palmer in free agency. They have Lad McConkey, who's really good. They have Quentin Johnston, who can't seem to catch the ball. But Emeka Egbuka, I think he's a very mature wide receiver. He can go deep. He's a big, deep threat. And I think that seeing him at Ohio State, you can see that he can play all around the field. I think that he has very good hands. I don't think he drops passes a lot. And I think that he's just like a consistent wide receiver. I think you know what you're going to get. The Chargers need wide receivers. They could go Luther Burden, but I do ultimately think that Emeka Egbuka is the right pick, and that's what they do here. With the 23rd overall pick, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Shamar Stewart, edge rusher, Texas A&M. The Packers, I think they go best player available, and I think that is Stewart. And they know that the key to being a Super Bowl contender is pass rush. And I think that they've had a solid pass rush. Coy Walker's been good. I think they've had a lot of guys in there who have been solid. But I think they need to get a superstar on the defensive line. And I think that's what Stewart does bring to them. I think I have to make this pick with the 23rd overall. 24th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Benjamin Morrison, cornerback, Notre Dame. The Vikings, they signed a lot of quarterback help in free agency, but I think that Morrison's a guy who can come in some dime sets, and when you need a lot of defensive backs, and just kind of develop a little bit. And I think maybe next season he'll become a bigger role in the defense. But DB is not a position it could hurt to have an abundance of, and Benjamin Morrison, I definitely know that he can play, and the Vikings just improve their defense with this pick. With the 25th overall pick, the Houston Texans select Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State. CJ Stroud was the second most sacked QB last season, only behind Caleb Williams. The Texans, they know that if they want to have Stroud take that next step into truly elite and become Super Bowl contenders, it all starts in the trenches. Stroud's sophomore season was rough because he kept getting sacked so much. And I think they know that keeping C.J. Stroud on his feet and healthy is the most important thing. So they get offensive line help and the best offensive lineman available in Josh Simmons. With the 26th overall pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Walter Nolan, defensive lineman, Ole Miss. The Rams, they get the extreme value here. His upside is through the roof, and they seem to just nail every defensive draft pick they ever make. So Nolan's really good, and he goes and helps a young defense, a young core, especially on the defensive line. They're really young, and they help replace Aaron Donald. I just think that the value on this pick is just too much for the Rams to pass up at 26. With the 27th overall pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Jahad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama. They get a really good linebacker, one of the best linebackers in the draft. They just want to help that defense, make sure they're getting a little younger. I think that they're getting a little older defensively, so they're trying to really just make that defense scarier, and I think that Campbell helps them do that. The 28th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select Shavon Revell Jr., quarterback, Eastern Carolina. The Lions look to address one of their main weaknesses in the DB position. They need to get younger at the position because injuries, especially in the defensive backfield, killed them last year in the playoffs. And I think that they get a solid guy that they can put in the rotation and get depth at a position that's proven that they need after in the playoffs last year, no defensive back. So they get a solid, proven quarterback that can play in the rotation. The 29th overall pick, the Washington Commanders select Nick Scourton, edge rusher, Texas A&M. The Commanders need to invest heavily into this draft this year, into the defense specifically. They're in a surprisingly win-now position where Jaden Daniels will be entering his prime the next couple of years. They just need to get the defense better and maybe help the offensive line a little bit. But they get one of the best players in the draft on the board still that has heavy upside in Nick Scourton. With the 30th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select Luther Burden, wide receiver, Missouri. The Bills need a wide receiver and that can stretch the field. And I think Luther Burden has the ability to do that. He has top 15 talent, so for him to still be here at 30, I think the Bills would do it in an instant. They look to help the wide receiver core. That's not very good. They signed Josh Palmer. They still have Kier Shakir, who they gave an extension, but they look to add to that wide receiver room, and they do so here. 31st overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Josh Connolly Jr., offensive tackle, Oregon. They look to get the best offensive linemen still available after the O-line fell apart in the Super Bowl and in the playoffs. They know that they still have a Super Bowl window, and they just need better offensive linemen. They lost some offensive linemen in free agency, so they just look to improve the O-line and build in the trenches, and if they want to have another chance at the Super Bowl, they need to do it, and they do so here. With the 32nd overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman, Michigan. The Eagles lost a lot of defensive players, especially on the defensive line. They lost Josh Sweat, they lost Milton Williams, they lost a lot of other linebackers, they lost some DBs. They won the Super Bowl and said, what if we never do that again? No, I'm just kidding. But they do need help defensively. They need depth. They need more players after losing a lot. And Kenneth Grant, I think that he could be one of the best players in this draft, and this could end up being a steal at 32. That's it for the mock draft. Now let's talk about some college football. I just wanted to talk about the Nico Iamaleava situation and talk about what happened there and give my thoughts on it. So if you haven't heard, former Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava was in an NIL dispute with Tennessee. He was getting paid $2 million, but he won $4 million. So he decided to transfer out from Tennessee after he skipped practice in a holdout and then decided to enter the transfer portal and went to UCLA. UCLA, they're paying him less than the original $2 million he was getting paid. He was getting paid like $1.75 million, somewhere around that. The reason he went to UCLA is because if he transferred somewhere within the SEC, he couldn't play this year. He would lose a year of eligibility, and the Big Ten was the next best choice. And also, he's from California, so that makes sense why. But he took less money to go to UCLA, which I find interesting. Also, he wanted more money, so he skipped practice. Coach came out and said, "We don't do that around here. Nobody's bigger than the team." And then he left. Another thing I find interesting is he went up to the offense, the coordinator of the offensive coaches, and said, "I want the offense to be changed. I want to be able to take full control over it," because he wanted to look better for NFL scouts. So he wanted Tennessee to adapt the offense a little bit for him. The coaches didn't make any change. No change was made. Nico said that no change was made to the offense, so he just decided, if I'm going to stay here at Tennessee where they're not going to change the offense and adapt the offense around me, I might as well get more money. Tried to get more money, didn't work, and now is making about $500,000 less by playing at UCLA. But I think that this just points to college football and the state that it's in. NIL should not have this much impact on a student and if they want to play football or not. I think that the NCAA needs to step in, do something about this. When they lost lawsuits, I think they kind of just said, "Alright, you guys figure it out on your own." The NCAA needs to step in, and this is the problem with the transfer portal. You can never expect a guy to be loyal. But I don't blame him. He wanted more money, didn't get it. But at the end of the day, it's just the Tennessee made a lesson out of him, and now he's at UCLA. I think that the transfer portal, I think it makes college football more exciting. That's for sure. But it's hard to track all this stuff, and I think that it's legal. You can sit out games. You can sit out practices if you want more money. I think people are going to start demanding more money. I think that either these colleges are going to have to get more boosters, make more money, or the NCAA is going to have to step in and do something. I think something's going to have to be done eventually. And I just don't think these colleges can just keep making money out of nowhere, just have to thin out the boosters. I think they have to step up. I just think it's an interesting situation overall. We haven't had something like this happen, but I think it's interesting just the way Nico did. I think he could have handled the situation better. I think Tennessee could have adapted the offense a little bit. And I think the NCAA just needs to step in and just stop these players from demanding as much money. Or just change the rules a little bit, because the transfer portal is kind of getting out of hand. That's it for today. Thanks for listening to Take the Snap.